Live from the Ring of Fire, Mike Papantonio.
Welcome back to the Ed Schultz Show. I'm Mike Papantonio, sitting in for Ed Schultz today, having some fun. Brendan DeMelle is executive director and is a managing editor of something called DeSmog. It's a blog. It's DeSmogBlog.com. More importantly, you see his writing everywhere, whether it's Huffington, Daily Beast. You know, he writes everywhere. He is a great, truly a great writer. Matter of fact, his blog, I think, Rick, was named one of the Time Magazine's top 25 blogs in the world.
Oh, I bookmark it.
I mean, that's amazing, man. That is just absolutely amazing. Hey, Brendan, you there?
Hey, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hey, look, this Heartland Institute story, I don't know what to make of it. Lay it out for us a little bit. It's just the craziest story. It's the neo-nuts at work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they get together every year. This is the 6th annual. We call it the Denial-a-Palooza because it's the it's the gathering of all the best climate confusionists and front groups and slick PR firms in the world, where they get together to conspire and orchestrate their little echo chamber to confuse the public about climate change. And it's coming up this week. So,
well, their angle this time, Brendan, is that they're saying that the world has forgotten how to use the scientific method. I mean, in what they want to do is they want to reassert, A, what the scientific method is for figuring all this out, and B, they want it to be their notion of scientific method.
That's right, and who do they invite to talk about this and kick off the conference but Senator Jim Inhofe, and a bunch of paid think tankers. Like we see this guy, actually Greenpeace just came out with some incredible information today that they obtained through FOIAs about one of the speakers at the Heartland conference is this guy, Willie Soon.
Oh, yeah, tell us that. Yeah. That's an incredible story. Tell
us
right,
that so he sounds like an impressive guy. He's an astrophysicist. He's worked at Harvard, and but it turns out that his career has literally been funded by oil and coal industries. The report that Greenpeace just put out shows over $1 million in funding from ExxonMobil, American Petroleum Institute, Koch Industries, Southern Company, just these polluters. That's not a reputable climate scientist.
Well, let me ask you something. Brendan, my memory was that Exxon had told, they made a promise. They made a promise to the American public and to the scientific community that they would never, they'd stop paying for biostitutes, for scientific prostitutes. And,
right.
And they said that, and then now we find out that Willie Soon, this person you're talking about, actually is still getting money from Exxon. I mean, in other words, they looked at the camera and they lied to all of us again. I mean, he's getting a lot of money from them.
And not only that, I mean, what we've seen is we all thought Exxon was such a villain in this, but it turns out that Koch Industries, Koch foundations have, pumped in almost twice as much money as Exxon, and then it just in the organizations that sponsor this Heartland Denial-a-Palooza conference, we've documented over $46 million in funding to those groups from Exxon, Koch, and the SCAPE foundations. So I mean, you just got this pure corporate propaganda posing as these people concerned about restoring the integrity to science.
Okay, well let's lay this out. This is they're actually writing to scientists and teachers and everybody all over the country saying, come to this meeting.
Right.
And if you come, we're going to talk to you. We're going to give you the real analysis about scientific method and how we've arrived at a decision about global climate change. But the people they're going to have there are like Fred Singer. Fred Singer is, he is maybe one of the premier biostitutes for the energy industry. Matter of fact, he's funded by the Moonies, I think. I'm trying to remember, but I think Reverend Sun Young Moon funded him to come out in favor of, funding of the oil industry and the coal industry. He's a member of Cato. Exxon's giving him $55,000 average per year. The Frontiers of Freedom have given about $300,000. I mean, this is the quality of the speakers that are going to be there when the media is there. And the damn idiot media isn't going to ask, well, where did this guy come from? Where does he get his money? Because the media is that damn stupid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, we see this whole cast of characters. There's, you mentioned a couple, but then there's Mark Morano. He's former, Senator Inhofe's former speaker, and a bunch of other biostitutes, as you call them, that have just worked for this industry, the fossil fuel industry, which really never quits they're the real incumbents in the political process, and they own the media. They don't rest between elections. They work the crowds 24/7. So, and their product is doubt and confusion. And we see this echo chamber talking about, that they understand what science should really be about, but in fact they're just selling the public a bill of goods that's just designed to save the pollution-based prosperity of a few polluting companies.
And you know what the quality of journalism now is. I mean, you know that a journalist that shows up isn't going to understand a damn thing about what, for example, Richard Linsen, I noticed he's going to be there. Richard Linsen is paid $2,500 a day consulting for the oil industry, okay? Now, do you really think any journalist is going to ask him that question, where you get your money? Hell no, I never see it. I mean, it's amazing. It's one of the most fundamental questions that a journalist should ask, but Richard Linsen is going to be there, this Heartland Institute Climate Change Lie Summit. And he's going to be talking, and the journalists are going to go, wow, what a smart guy. And they're never going to say, well, what about the $2,500 you're paid every single day by the Energy Institute?
Yeah, I mean, these guys ought to just carry tip jars around Denial-a-Palooza, with the sign, polluters, insert money in your talking points here, and I'll talk about them. So it really is. It's become they've built an infrastructure that's not only dominated the TV networks and radio and right-wing radio and the think tanks that put out these bogus papers that are supposedly providing balance to the scientific literature, which is revered, and refereed by scientists the world over, that shows overwhelmingly the facts of climate change. There's no doubt that we have to deal with this problem, and yet this small group of people with a big megaphone using every tobacco industry tactic and unethical PR trick in the book is confusing people and convincing them that there's nothing to worry about. I mean, you've seen these tactics. You know them well.
I know. Rick Yatson, you're right. You're a good investigative writer with the Daily Beast, but I still see the Daily Beast just get sucked into this stuff. Sometimes I'll look at a Daily Beast article and I'll go, really? What is it that you freaking don't understand? What is it you don't understand here?
Well, it's always hard to ask that extra question. But, we're only a month away, and Brandon, the other big story we had last month, U.S. Today brought it out about the Edward Wegman's story. He did the climate. He's the one who debunked climate change for the U.S. Senate, for the Congress. Barton brought him in. His whole report now has been debunked because he plagiarized. It never got a full review.
But why didn't the journalist ask the question? I mean, you're going to have, again, I'm not beating up just on the Daily Beast, but I take a look at all of them. I've seen stories in the Beast, and I go, what is it that they don't understand? Why can't a journalist ask a question? I'm talking about Newsweek quality. I'm talking about trained journalists that don't have enough sense to ask a guy like Pat Michael. Pat Michael's going to be there, isn't he? Isn't he going to be there, Brendan?
Yeah, I think he is.
So Pat Michael's, completely funded by the oil industry, is going to be up in front of this conference, and he's going to be espousing crazy talk, and there's not going to be anybody saying, well, tell us about all the money you're getting from the oil industry. He's getting huge money, be over-the-top kind of money.
That's right. And not only do they not ask, when, for instance, Willie Soon just had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and he's sold himself as a mercury expert, and nobody thought to check that. New York Times ran the same piece, sold him as a mercury expert. And not only do they not ask that question, but then they have, the media has made this mistake of creating this balance frame where they'll put an oil lobbyist up against a climatologist and call that, a fair fight, So it's
well, I mean, the biggest breakdown on this story has been the media, because the media is either A, they're so lazy that they won't do their work, or B, they simply are incapable of understanding how they're getting scammed here. Either way, it's pretty disturbing. Brendan, great material. People really should go to your blog. Tell us the blog one more time. Is like
DeSmogBlog.com. So DESMOGBLOG.
All right. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Pat.